Hello, I'm Professor Ana Paula Juárez Lopez,
And I am Professor Esteban Zárate.
and today we're going to talk about a digital repository for teaching vocabulary at the public secondary school.
So here we need to emphasize that teaching vocabulary at a public secondary school is an issue of paramount importance. Why? Because general knowledge have revealed that students who arrive at the first year of secondary school don't have enough vocabulary either, because they don't have the chance to take English lessons during their primary school, or because they don't even have any chance to take outside of their school a course for learning English. So one of the possible solutions is to create a digital repository. So in order to explore that possibility, we think about this research question, the general one. What is the nature of first-year secondary school students' perceptions regarding vocabulary materials when using a digital repository? And in order to give an answer to this general question, these are the three sub-questions. What is the nature of secondary school students' perceptions regarding learning vocabulary? Second, what is the importance of the internet in secondary school students' language learning? And third, what are secondary school students' perceptions regarding the usefulness of a digital repository for learning vocabulary? So, first of all, we need to think about the theoretical foundations that supported this research. And those are seen within these aspects, teaching and learning vocabulary. So here we need to think about how teachers may attract students' attentions for learning vocabulary due to students commonly face some difficulties. For instance, students don't know the exact meaning or equivalence of an English word with a mother tongue. Secondly, that some students may have difficulties for associating or using adequately the vocabulary, the specific vocabulary for a specific context, and also that they struggle with acquiring new words in order to be part of their own repertoire. And also, teachers may have to design some activities to make it meaningful, the vocabulary learning process. That's the other difficulty. And the possible solution is the use of internet as an educative innovation. But how we make use of internet? Well, common knowledge says that the access to digital platforms, in this case, educative platforms, is a good option. However, we need to think about contextual factors. And when we say contextual factors, we need to think about economy. So the common issue in a public secondary school is that not all the parents have the sufficient issues for paying for supporting a digital platform. So here, when we decide which digital platform we tend to use, we may find for free platforms, but also in order to use that platform, we need to think about the pedagogical design, and that pedagogical design involves the use of a digital repository, that it should be up to date, easy for access for both students and teachers, and also that students may practice any task for learning vocabulary with ease and also with some kind of easiness. Next.
And then we have the methodology. This inquiry adopted a qualitative research, and the design of this in research was case study. In the data collection methods, we use the interviews, observations, and field notes. In the interviews, we specifically use semi-structured interview. Well, in this semi-structured interview, we as teacher had opportunity to ask students questions apart from the questions established at the beginning. On the observations, well, we as teachers observe students develop on the classroom when they working with the teacher, with their classmates, and also how students work on the digital repository, how they feel, how they work, and if they have any questions. And in the case of the field notes, well, we took some notes about the students' interaction. Well, it's between students and teachers interactions, students and students interaction, and also the most important, the students and the platform interaction. And well, what about the context? Well, this inquiry was carried out in a public secondary school here in Mexico. The infrastructure and conditions were the school has a big classrooms, yes, and that was amazing. But what about the internet? The internet was not good enough. The students can use the computers that the school provides, but the computers don't work very well. And in the participants, there were 14 participants between 12 and 13 years old. In the case of the research procedure, well, we had some steps. The first one was that we as teachers, we needed to look for different platforms and how can we work and what was the most easy and dynamic platform to use. And we decided to use Google Classroom. The next step was to ask for permission in the secondary school. Then we have to design the material to use. So when we got all the material, obviously talking about vocabulary, we put the material into different folders so students could look for the materials, the worksheets, and in this case, the worksheets were based on the syllabus, aprendizajes clave. And then we have the English sessions. In the English sessions, we divided into 3 different parts: observation, practice, and interview. In observations, we observe all the students, all the classroom, all the interactions, and then we have the practice. In the practice was how students work on the Google Classroom platform. And if they had any question, we were there to ask or solve the problem at the moment. And finally, we had the interviews. There were choosing some volunteer students, and we asked students about how they feel during when using the platform, if they like or if they face some difficulties, or if they needed more information, and so on.
Also, here we need to mention that due to the instability of internet connection, so one of the solutions as teachers we took was to project the digital platform in the classroom so that students in the physical classroom, so that students have the opportunity to interact within the Google Classroom platform inside the classroom, no? And also, we need to mention that students' real names were protected. So when we deal with findings, you are going to see different names so that we protect their real names, integrity, and all those ethical factors. Now, the data analysis was based on some aspects of grounded theory proposed by Corbin and Strauss. This data analysis consisted, first of all, on analyzing the general interviews. So we try to start generating general categories. After that, we also analyze the questionnaires and the observations so that we may generate the subcategories. That's the second step of axial coding. And finally, we analyze again the three data collection methods so that we try to match the information with the subcategories. And then we need the findings. The findings are coded in three general categories. So the first general category is secondary school students' perceptions regarding EFL learning. Second category, importance of the internet in secondary school students' language learning. And third, students' perceptions regarding the usefulness of a digital repository for learning vocabulary. So let's explore the first general category. Secondary school students' perceptions regarding EFL learning has three subcategories. The first subcategory, intrinsic motivation. Most of the students, some of the interviewees said that they like to learn English because of an inner insight. In this case, Pink claimed that if I could travel to other countries, I could speak English better. So it has his own desire to go abroad and speaking in English, communicating by using this language. So the second subcategory is due to extrinsic motivation. This is related with an instrumental use of English language. So for instance, check Red's claim, maybe I'm going to need the English language for my job because in the future I want to be a surgeon. So since this moment, he is visualizing the use of English as an instrument for communication. Next. This is the third subcategory. How secondary students learn vocabulary? Well, mainly the general way for learning vocabulary is through the use of the Blackboard. However, with the use of this digital repository, most of the students perceive the use of the digital repository for learning vocabulary was an easy and enjoyable manner for this purpose. For instance, Blue claim learning vocabulary is easy if you also review it on your own. Now the next one. The second category, importance of the internet in secondary school students' language learning. It has its own subcategories. This is the first subcategory for entertainment. According to Dugger, Ayam, and Menevis, the use of internet is mainly for social and entertainment purpose. That is echoed by Brown, who claims that he uses for playing video games or for chatting with friends through social networks. Here we may say that most commonly students use internet not for an educative purpose, but for entertainment. Next. But also, in contrast, some other students claim to use internet for learning and commonly for doing their homeworks or for retrieving information they consider important for the different lessons. For instance, Pink claimed that I don't know what it's called. It's about activities in which you have to choose the words and put them in the text where they fit. So he's claiming to use a web page, an interactive web page for solving some exercises. Next.
And then we have the third general category that it's called students' perceptions regarding the usefulness of a digital repository for learning vocabulary. The first category is about the students' experiences. And in this case, we got this experience of one student who talked about that he started an English course in a well-known platform that it's called Duolingo. He told us that he started the English course, but when he entered to the secondary school, he didn't finish the course. But at the same time, he started studying Italian in that platform. So that was one of the experience that a student, well, in this case, Blue, had when using a digital platform. Then we have positive perceptions. Well, in general, students consider that using a digital repository for learning English vocabulary, it was a great opportunity to do the English activities in a more dynamic and innovative way. So they thought that it was something different, this new way of working in comparison to the traditional way that it's writing on the blackboard or doing activities there. So in general, they consider it as an easy and entertaining way of working, of learning English vocabulary, and where everybody can participate and share comments. And so then we have some obstacles. In this case, some participants mentioned that they face some difficulties when they try to upload activities on the platform. There was a case of one student, Red, and he mentioned that he didn't upload activities because of laziness. So he decided to do the activities on their notebook, bring it into the class. And then we have some students' suggestions. And in this part, some students, or the majority of the students, commented that he would like to, or he would like the teachers added more activities like games that they consider that these kind of activities makes English learning more attractive and fun for students. And there was a case of a student in this that we called Orange, and he mentioned that he wanted to know more about the platform. He really wanted to know more about how to use the platform and how many things he can do there. So he considered that they needed more classes about using this digital repository. So this reflects the students' lack of technological skills.
And then what we may conclude after having done this research project is that the use of a digital repository in a secondary school is a viable solution for teachers in order to teach vocabulary, but also there are some constraints to consider. Internet connection, access to internet not only at school but also at students' home, because the fact of laziness, it may reveal not only this direct fact, but in reality that students don't have at all internet connection at their disposal, and also that they lack of technological competencies developed. Also, teachers need to develop their technological competencies as well, so that they can manipulate easily the technological repositories. And also, one of the implications is that school authorities may try to look for solutions so that the internet service is perfectly, and also that students may have some training courses for using digital platforms as well teachers. One of the limitations, as it was mentioned, is the internet facilities. So in this case, we try to give a solution by projecting the digital repository inside the physical classroom. And also the other possible limitation is the number of students. So it was just with one group of the total number of groups that take English at the secondary school, at the public secondary school. However, they may be a representative of what is faced by other groups, not only at the secondary school, at the public secondary school where this research took place, but also in different regions of Mexico. So one of the suggestions for further research is to look for any other courses implementing a digital repository, for instance, at a private secondary school or any other levels, no? And also the development of technological skills for students and for teachers. Personally talking, we reflected that the use of a digital repository is a good strategy, but we need to update it, give also games and different materials so that it can be considered attractive for students' attention, but also with a pedagogical purpose. Some of the references that we use, and finally, we
Thank
thank
you
you
very much.
for your attention.